In this video, we are going to look at 2.5, which is the last subtopic in chapter 2. Okay, it's about compensation point. Compensation point is the level of light intensity. Look at this point. When the rate of respiration depicted by this horizontal line equals to the rate of photosynthesis, which is depicted by this purple line. So at this point, the rate of photosynthesis is the same as the rate of respiration. Glucose, which is produced in photosynthesis, is then being used in the respiration of plants. So notice this is the y-axis, and it's about the uptake of carbon dioxide gases, okay, as it goes up this way. And here going down from this middle point depicts the uptake of carbon dioxide gases decrease. So for the y-axis, this depicts the light intensity. So from this graph, it is divided into half. So let's look at the upper half, upper part of it. In this part, the upper part, there is net gain in glucose. Why? Because the rate of photosynthesis, you can see this line, exceeds the rate of respiration. Okay, and therefore uptake of carbon dioxide increases. So that means carbon dioxide has to be absorbed from the surrounding atmosphere so that it can cater the usage or the need or the demand of carbon dioxide for the plants to undergo photosynthesis. But here at the bottom part, there is net loss in glucose. So that means glucose is used in respiration is faster than glucose that is produced in photosynthesis. Okay, this is because the rate of respiration over this lower part of the graph exceeds the rate of photosynthesis. And therefore, a lot of carbon dioxide gases is released to the surrounding. And in other words, also, we say uptake of carbon dioxide decreases because of the low rate of photosynthesis. Okay, there is another graph, but this graph here shows this dark, this gray color portion, which is in total darkness. So in total darkness, there is no photosynthesis, but respiration is ongoing as long as the organism is alive. So in this case, carbon dioxide concentration increases, okay, being the byproduct of respiration. Okay, so this the elaboration. It says when the light intensity continue to increase beyond the compensation point, the rate of photosynthesis becomes higher as compared to the rate of respiration. So it is describing this part over here. Light intensity increases, rate of photosynthesis is higher as compared to the rate of respiration. So at this time, carbon dioxide needs to be absorbed from the surrounding atmosphere to compensate the rate of its usage in photosynthesis. Okay, so because of the higher rate in photosynthesis. And at the same time, excessive oxygen, remember oxygen is the byproduct of photosynthesis, so it is released to the atmosphere. So at the same time, the rate of glucose production exceeds the rate of glucose usage. So there is excess in the formation or the production of glucose, and therefore it will be converted to the storage form of glucose, which is starch in the plants. Okay, so imagine what will happen if the rate of respiration and the rate of photosynthesis remain the same at the compensation point. Okay, do you understand the questions? It says, what if it remains here at this point? that the rate of respiration, the rate of photosynthesis remains the same, what will happen? Is it good? If this is to happen, that means the products of photosynthesis, the products refers to those the glucose, will be fully used by the plant respiration. So that means cukup-cukup makan sahaja. Is that good? So actually the rate of photosynthesis must exceed the rate of respiration every day. Why? Because bukan sahaja for survival, the glucose that is produced, the products that is produced from photosynthesis is used also to ensure that growth and production of flowers, seeds, and fruits to happen. Also, this to enable the rate of glucose production to exceed the rate of glucose usage. Okay, we want this excess glucose to serve in the purpose of growth and also development processes in the plants, not only for survival, not only to enable respiration to happen. And at the same time also we know photosynthesis releases byproducts, which is oxygen, and there will be a lot of oxygen in the atmosphere, and this is good because oxygen is needed to support other organisms, especially you know that oxygen is the main substrate is needed in respiration. Okay, now let's compare between photosynthesis and respiration by looking at the similarities first. Both processes takes place in living organisms, in living things. Both processes involve the uptake and release of gases, but the reverse gases. Okay, in terms of differences, organisms involved for photosynthesis, only those green plants having those photosynthetic pigments. Okay, and also certain photosynthetic bacteria. Okay, for respiration, as long as we are living things, we are organisms, they are organisms, therefore respiration will happen in the cells, in all cells. But for photosynthesis, only in cells containing the green pigment, namely the chlorophyll. Type of metabolism. Okay, for photosynthesis, remember it is an example of anabolism. Okay, tak bermaksud proses pembinaan ini. Synthesis of glucose using carbon dioxide and water. But for respiration, it is catabolism. That means breaking down. Okay, what is being broken down? Glucose, being the main substrate of respiration, is broken down in the presence of oxygen to generate energy, which is the main product in respiration. Okay, site ataupun tapak photosynthesis definitely at chloroplast, cell component chloroplast, but for respiration it happens at the mitochondria, which is the site of cellular respiration, or we also call it as the powerhouse because cellular respiration generates energy. Okay, reaction substances ataupun reactant for photosynthesis requires carbon dioxide and water, respiration, oxygen, and glucose. Okay, and you notice that they are reversed. Okay, they are reversed. For example, this one, the byproducts of photosynthesis, oxygen and water. You see here? But for respiration, this carbon dioxide and water is their byproducts. Unlike in photosynthesis, these two serves as the reactants. Okay, the products. So the main purpose of photosynthesis is to synthesize glucose, and the main purpose of respiration is to generate energy. Okay, energy involvement, like energy is absorbed by chlorophyll, and then is converted to chemical energy in the form of ATP. Okay, but for respiration, chemical energy is converted to ATP, heat energy is being released. Okay, so this is what happened in respiration. Okay, light requirement for photosynthesis, light is needed because there is the first stage, which is the light-dependent reaction. For respiration, doesn't require the presence of light. It happens all the time as long as the organisms is still alive. Okay, this is the quiz which you can try to do, and you can scan at the end of the chapter. Okay, so this is the summary of chapter 2. We have come across the external structure and also the internal structure of a leaf. These are the parts, the terms that you have to remember. Next, we're going to look at the leaf function, being the main organ for gaseous exchange. Then we also come across the necessity, the mechanism of stomata opening and closing, water deficiency, what's the effect on the plants in terms of closing and opening of stoma. Okay, the main leaf is also the main organ for transpiration. The necessity, why is it significant? Transpiration. The environmental factors that affect the rate of transpiration ada 4. Remember their graph. Remember their relationship. Okay, the main organ of photosynthesis, the necessity. That means the significance of photosynthesis. Lepas tu their adaptation of the internal structure of a leaf. Okay, then we look into the chloroplast structure. We look into photosynthesis with the 2 stages or the 2 reactions, and also the environmental factors, 3 of them, that affects the rate of photosynthesis. Last but not least is today's lesson on compensation point. You have to define what is that, and also to compare and contrast between photosynthesis and respiration. And that's it for chapter 2.